Hello, good morning. Welcome to QTV this morning. Yeah, you're seeing quite a familiar face, but not on this spot. No, not where I am today. Anyway, my name is Bala Musa Krubali, and welcome to QTV this morning. We are happy to be here again, to bring you your usual morning current affairs show. And one of the shows, that is the most watched current affairs show in the Gambia in the morning. And, it's always a pleasure to be here. And today with me, I have Mam Nabuka as my co-host. Good morning, Mam Nabu.
Good morning. It's so good to, I know this is your first time
hosting. Yes, it's my first time hosting this morning.
So I'll be learning from you. Maybe next time I can do it.
I guess we'll learn from each other, right? Yeah. That's it. And today on the show, we have Mr. Malik Carr, our general manager, as our newspaper guest, newspaper review guest. Welcome, Mr. Carr.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Carr and Mam Nabu. So today on the show, we'll have the African proverb as usual. We'll have our second segment, which will be the Gambia to switch from 7 digits mobile numbers to 9. That is, we will have our guest from Pura, that is Jamila to Saidi Lee, Director of Consumer Affairs. And after that, we will look at the State of Human Rights Report 2025. And we'll be joined by Emmanuel Daniel Juve, Chairperson, National Human Rights Commission, and Abdou A. Mane, Principal Investigation Officer, National Human Rights Commission. So that is the lineup for today, Ma'am.
How wonderful.
Yes. So we begin with the African proverb. The African proverb reads, "The eyes that sees the king no longer fear the clerk."
No longer fear
the clerk.
The clerk.
The clerk.
Yes. Is it clerk? Yes.
Yeah, it's clerk.
Yeah. That shows if you have proximity to power, then by implication you are also powerful. So the less powerful people do not mean much because you have the eyes and probably the ears of the king. Because the nearer you are to the center of power, also that translates power on your side. Yeah. So the junior people on the way do not mean anything. So therefore, by association, you also acquire some kind of authority. Okay. So therefore, the lesser ones are of no consequence to you. So you'd say, hey, look, I am dealing with the king. You know, the king does listen to me in the ear. So it just shows the relationship and proximity you have with an individual of authority and power that also by extension gives you some leverage.
I think I'd like to link it to things we deal with on a daily basis. I think it's a code that is pushing people to interact with things that are challenging to them because the more you do that, the more you realize that you don't need to live in shadows of things that you fear. I will take myself as an example. You know, I have a huge fear of, right now sitting here is a huge fear for me. But once you start doing it again and again and again and you see, oh, there's nothing to be afraid of. If I take my time and I challenge the situation, I can actually do it. So you don't need to be you don't need to be fearful of things that are, very minor to you at the end of the day. So I would like to look at it like that.
Absolutely.
For me, I look at it this way. Sometimes it's an experience. Like when you experience some tough things in life or you go through very tough, decisions and all that, experiences in life, certain things, will be minor. Let's take an example. Someone maybe who have been through the back way, have crossed the sea to Europe. And that person comes back and tells, I want to be a fisherman, like let's say as a parent, you're like, oh no, the sea is not safe. Oh, that guy have been in the sea for continuous 7 days or even up to 2 weeks sometimes. So that's it. In life, I think sometimes when you experience certain things, and it's so difficult, there are certain things when they come in your life, you're like, oh, I've done something that is more challenging or more difficult than this.
You mean you cross the threshold of fear?
Fear.
So that fear no longer exists for you because you would have done things.
Provided a little arrogance doesn't slip into it because, things can always happen.
Things can be different. I know. Like they say so. They say the wife of a president is a president.
Absolutely.
So, all those sort of
needless to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so now we head straight to the newspaper review. We go for a short break after we go to the newspaper review. Welcome back. This is QTV this morning. If you're just joining us, my name is Bala Musa Krubali. I'm your host today, and I'm here with Mam Nabuka and Mr. Malik Carr, the general manager of QTV, as our newspaper review guest. We dive into the newspapers now, Mam Nabu. We start with Foria.
Yes, we have Foria, where the center story is why Supreme Court dismissed Co-PG and Keksane's constitutional challenge. So I wish we had more details on the story, but just going off of...
Yeah, I think yesterday I read part of the story on Keksane's, was it Keksane's page? Or so I saw it online. I think they're trying to challenge the president's decision when it comes to some constitutional amnesty that he gave to certain people who were recommended to be banned in the public service or something like that. For I think it's from the Janneh Commission and other commissions. So they highlighted people like Mamadou Sabali and other people who are in the system. I don't know if you're privy to that, Mr. Khan.
Yeah. In fact, I shared it. It said the judgment was delivered on the 8th by Justice Eba on behalf of 5-member panel of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
They found that Section 19, 20, and 21 of the Amendment Act do not conflict with the constitutional framework governing commissions of inquiry, Sections 200 to 206 of the 1997 Constitution. So therefore, they rule against them in favor of that. The discretionary role that the president have, he can exercise that. So essentially, they were trying to challenge that what the amendment or the discretion that was used by the executive is not, in line with the Constitution. But according to the ruling, they found otherwise.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is the Supreme Court is always ruling the law exactly how it is written, which is usually not in line with maybe public expectations or sentiments, which brings me to the question, how do we bridge the gap between judicial rulings and public understanding so that faith is not lost when cases are dismissed on legal technicalities?
Well, that is just awareness. People have to understand that the law is structured and to be interpreted by the courts. The intent of Parliament is what they try to portray. But these are technical things. That's why they've been trained to become baristas so that they can express this. Nonetheless, people will always have their opinions. And regardless of the ruling, the opinions will differ. That's always the case. But at the end of the day, the arbitration, the final judgment is what stands and then stands, especially on constitutional matters, until there is some changes to the Constitution or other variations that remains to be the reference in terms of that or those particular circumstances that generated such a challenge.
Yeah, because when you look at the recent, case of the former Auditor General and the state, when you look at the ruling, that tells you like what you said, exactly. They rule based on what the Constitution says. The constitutionality of what transpired there is what they try to uphold in most cases. But, like you said, always there will be this friction here and there. People will tend to agree or disagree with some of these rulings. But, we look at what the Constitution says, and I think that is why
we must abide by the
as
law.
lay people, we always have opinions. But when it comes to technicality of the law, the lawyers, that is why in Gambia we have the adversarial kind of system where you will have for and against. You'll have the lawyers for a particular person and the state, so they will be arguing, then exchanges, and based on case law, statute, and other type of references, then they come to their final decision.
Of course.
Good. What do we have next on the Foria, Mamnabo?
So we have the Standard, where the center story is the IEC clarifies omissions in provisional voter list. So this is a very sensitive case because elections are coming, and any sort of friction can cause public distrust. So
it's contentious, but nonetheless, if it is transparent, they will publish and make it in the public domain available to everybody to go and inspect and then look at it. But you will always have people to challenge. But challenge, you have to also just make it, like I said, very transparent, and people can understand that what you are doing is within the remit of the law, and also, being biased for or against anybody. You are just doing as is dictated according to their...
I think it's also the perfect opportunity to encourage people to go look at the provisional voter list. So if you have anything you've noticed that it needs complaint or to be, you can go ahead and do that.
It's like unlike what happened in 2021, immediately after the registration process and all that. you know, the provision,
Revising
courts were
Yes,
open, you know,
yes.
for a period of time, and we didn't see, we didn't hear even a single case
Yeah.
of, you know, people going to challenge certain things. But after the election, we saw a lot of noise about, you know, foul plays with the registration process and all
Right,
that. So
right.
now the opportunity is here. But based on experience, IEC are now saying they are not going to open the revising courts for a period of time. What they're doing is they are going to look at the complaints that come in. When they have complaints, then they open the revising courts. The last time that they met stakeholders, that was what they announced. They said the revising courts are there, but they will only announce the starting of the revising courts or the sittings of the revising courts based on
if there are cases.
Yeah, their cases. But if there are no cases, there will be no.
That's fair enough, you know. If there are people are entitled to go and scrutinize it, you know, I think it's normally pasted all over for people to see. And I think IEC was saying there were duplications. So duplications, therefore, they have to be omitted or deleted from the registrar. Naturally, that's just normal. But if people feel that they should challenge such a decision, well, I think the tribunals are there to listen to their cases.
Absolutely. Interesting times ahead. So next we have Mayor, still on the standard, we have Mayor Lowe blames government for BCC dysfunction, says he is stepping back.
Yeah, I think the Local Government Act ought to be revisited, you know, in terms of autonomy and all these things. I think there are a lot of limitations in terms of what they do, but, you know, it's something that lawmakers should really look into to see how they can make it really workable for both parties.
For me, if she says she blames government for BCC dysfunction, I want to understand what exactly means, you know, going into that, because I think there's so many things in Banjul, when you look at the feeder roads and all that, you know, are done by the central government, you know. I know BCC also have done part of the roads there. And I think that is complementing each other's effort. So when they say dysfunction, I don't know what exactly.
I think they're referring to the Local Government Act, you know, it's flawed in many ways because of the way it was constructed. You will have elected officials, and then you will have the CEO that is appointed by the ministry. So these things tend to create a friction. They cannot perform their function. When these people are elected to execute a certain mandate, but they are limited because of government has a role in terms of, you know, the executive authority. So those things, you know, has to be looked into in terms of law, and then see whether they ought to change it, amend it, so that, you know, their functions can be very distinct, so that if you are elected, given a mandate, you will be able to make your mandate possible.
Yeah, I think there was even a point where they had to go to the court to amend, you know, a clause in the Local Government Act where it says even the mayor or the chairpersons wants to travel, they have to get approval from the minister.
You know, so I think some of the laws pinning the look is very archaic. You know, they've been used for a long time. It's about time to revisit
them,
it. You know, so that even if your opponent happens to be, you know, the mayor, they can just do their mandate in terms of what they've been elected to do.
Yeah, because when you look at the Local Government Commission while it was on, you know, you see that the CEOs who are appointed by central government have a lot of authority, you know, even over the elected officials, you know, at the council. So, yeah, I think those are some of the things we
so those are the mismatches that, you know, is really making it very difficult for both parties to perform their functions.
So we move on to our next story.
Yep.
We have The Point. The National Human Rights Commission sounds alarm. Gambia's detention centers overcrowded and unsanitary.
I think, Gambia, I think government is aware of that. I heard rumors about a new prison being built. I think they are conscious or aware of that, because that prison is way overdue. It's been there since colonial times, and we know how it was being used as a punitive institution. You know, the conditions there, if you look inside, is terrible. So I think the transitional phase of, you know, phasing it out is long overdue. They should really look at it, you know. In this day and age, you know, we cannot have such type of conditions to incarcerate people. You know, people have to be rehabilitated to come back to society, but not dealt like in a subhuman kind of way. I think, I think even government recognize that to the extent that they want a new prison.
Do you also think that this could mean looking into alternative sentencing for more minor, non-violent crimes as well?
Yeah,
and also
sentencing tariffs, they have to be revisited. I keep saying that. I have said that on this platform many times. There are certain type of, you know, crimes, especially with young people. It destroys their life, like smoking one joint of cannabis and all these things.
You know, having one bag, you know,
smoking, all
like
these,
that.
you know, this is something, you know, they can let them look at the sentencing tariffs. There are certain grievous crimes that have no big sentences when you have some minor having, you know, it should be revisited.
And also, when you look at the remand wing, like some of the people who have been at remand wing, when they come out, you hear them say, like, like when they have conversation with some people who are there currently, they'll tell them they've been there for like 5 years or even more. You know, so the judicial process also like trying to fast track the case, the backlogs, that also contributes.
That is one of the functions of the Human Rights Commission to look into and address. You know, I think the non-functionality of the judicial system also have to be interrogated. You know, and then certain measures be taken. You know,
absolutely. Well, now go to our next story. What do you have?
So we have here the medical expert warns FGM heightens the risk of maternal deaths. I think recently there has been a case where they are trying to go back to see.
Yeah, we're on the point. That's on the Point newspaper.
That's on the Point newspaper, right? They're trying to see if the law can be repealed again. I've seen a case like that, so maybe that's why we have a report like this.
What is the case about? Is it medical negligence, or what is it?
No, you know, I think currently there's a case at the Supreme Court. You know, after the National Assembly, I think they wanted that law to be amended so that FGM can still, you know, exist in this country.
You're talking about FGM,
yes. So, you know, after they lost from the National Assembly, they went to the Supreme Court, to look at the constitutionality of, you know.
They have to call expert opinions. This is where doctors will come and testify and say, you know, whether it's something of any medical, you know, value or not. And then, depending on advice, especially expert, you know, the courts will have to base their decision on that. So doctors will have to be at the forefront of this to really explain what FGM does in terms of harm and other aspects. What benefits does it have, if any? So, and national human rights.
Exactly, that's what Dr.
It's quite a sensitive topic to talk about, considering both religion and culture involved.
Definitely. And Dr. Abite, I think that's exactly what he mentioned. He said there are no benefits to it when it comes to the medical aspect. There is no benefits to FGM. So he called for the total ban of FGM.
So let's wait for the ruling of the...
Okay, now take us back to the Standard. I know this stuff that we see almost on a weekly basis now. Man arrested for allegedly killing girlfriend. I saw it on the police side yesterday on QTV page. I think
it's a lot of these cases happening like frequently at a very rapid pace. And when we had Ibrahim Adabo here the last time, he was talking about how it's not necessarily because the killings are happening like rapidly in a very frequent manner, but rather that more reports are being done about it. So I think it points to a very alarming case of there's a lot of anger in people that a minor inconvenience can cause someone to harm you. So I think there's something there to look at, maybe something less tangible like psychological issues that can be discussed, which needs to be discussed because it is not discussed often. And I think it's something that needs to be talked about.
Femicide is a big issue now, killing of women, especially in the home, whether it's in marital context or in this particular case, you know, it ought to be, you know, the data must be looked at, you know, thoroughly, and other aspects in society, especially recently there is a high speed level of, you know, murders being reported all over the country. You know, it's quite unusual, you know. Very busy month in terms of records, despite if you take the duration of 1 year, maybe it's not that much, but if you take the intensity and the gravity within a short span of time, then definitely is worth having the attention of the authorities to see what they're going to do. I have seen they've started deploying the PIU in more areas, you know,
joint security patrols,
see, you know, those things maybe, and targeting of these gangs and people of violence, drug dens and all these places. These are the places that they need to visit and check what is happening in those areas. If they do that, they will curb it down, I think.
And most of the time, when you look at these murder cases, you know, these are people who know each other or were close to each other at some point. So most of these murder cases are like that. But when it comes to the patrol aspect and the security, it's important, you know, to the police visibility or visibility of security, you know, within our communities and all that's important, because, you know, it can stop criminals from, you know, doing one or two things after they see police around and all that. I can remember, was it in 2013 or 2014? There was 2013, I think. We had that in the Gambia where the crime was, you know, on the rise. You know, they had this joint security team called Bulldozer, you know, that were stationed across the country. And I can remember back then in Basse at night, you know, when you meet with them, you know, they'll stop you and search you. You know, most of when they meet you at locations that are considered to be unfriendly or ungodly during ungodly hours, you'll even be arrested and you'll be questioned why you were there. We know there is this freedom of movement and all that, but at some point, I think they should look at that. For me, the patrols are important, but let's say, you know, a police patrol user, they just passed a street. And if they find boys there, they side you, they see something with you, they take you, there's nothing with you, they leave you and they go. You know, but the police, I think there should be permanent patrols, not just one-off. Let's say when something happens, you know, they start patrolling here and there, because we have police units in every region. And every community has a huge police presence. Like I said, Talinding, we have about 2 police stations there where I live. You know, you have Fajikunda, I think about 2. So the police within those stations should be somehow, I think, supported in terms of resources. You don't just need a vehicle, even with motorbikes or bicycles, just to be, you know, going around, just seeing the police presence or visibility within your community. That alone, you know, is security in itself.
Yeah, but it's more to do with the resources, because what you're talking is high intensity, you know, in terms of activity. They have to use human police resources, they have to use vehicles, petrol, and all these things. And we had the police commissioner the other day lamenting about the lack of sufficient resources. I mean, they have to be really, and their presence in the community is a deterrence. And also policing, I know they've been talking about community policing. They have to engage the youths in these localities, especially where crime is recorded, to be very high, to engage some of them, and even work with some of them. Some of them can be community leaders to guide and talk to the people. Also keep an eye on violent men against their wives and all these things. So, you know, keep a register of, you know, reports and take this seriously. If somebody come and say that somebody threatened me, if husband or wife, should be put under serious monitoring to see how violent his actions were, how much is escalating. So intervention has to be timely. You don't have to wait until an act occurs, then you start, you know, deploying and making all this movement. So there are a lot of deterrents that they can be put in place, measures like police patrols, you know, visibility around the area. Bandits will be curbed in terms of, you know, because they are very opportunistic, some of these bandits. They go in the middle of the night with weapons, they're armed, you know, intrude into your property and do a lot of damage and create psychological even trauma and leave that with the family. So there are a lot of things. The police, I'm sure they more than we do, but resources have to be deployed there. They also have to see they take those measures, let it be visible to the community.
And they have been really cracking down on that lately, patrolling and stuff, but I feel like consequences also needs to be seen. If these people are arrested or detained, we need to see the full fact of the law enforced, so that when people see, oh, when you do this, this is what happens, it also helps in stopping crimes like that from happening, especially when it comes to domestic violence as well.
Like I saw these gang members that they arrested yesterday, or this gang. I saw everybody coming out to praise them, people of Latrikunda, because I'm sure they all, like those people were a big, you know, menace to them. Yes, so things like that. And I agree with you, community policing is something that is, because in my community where I come from, in Basse Kabakama, if they're watching, they have a very active and functioning community police, because the police in URR, I learned that set up few community police in some, you know, communities, but in where I come from, there is one that, you know, some of my relatives are even part of, and it's very active.
It's based on intelligence, well, and plain clothes officers as well. You know, plain clothes have to be operating in the area to give them information. So the police will be working with a lot of information, you know, intelligent, you know, directed. They can target people. They will monitor individuals. They will monitor groups in the communities. If they do that, they will seriously reduce crime. You know.
And mental health, I agree with Ma'am Nabu, is another thing.
That's another
in this
aspect,
country, we don't take that serious. Mental health in this country, we don't take it, and we have to.
So there are lots of institutions that need to work together on this. National Human Rights Commission, mental health, I think is also under-equipped, non-resourced, almost zero. Then you look at community policing. How do you use the, you know, community, the local champions, work with them, intelligence, you know, if you bring all this together, you know, have a forum, strategize, develop a framework, implement it, definitely it will start having impact in terms of reduction of crime.
So I want us to look at this also. It's still on the Standards newspaper. That is protesters storm court, confront accused in 68 million alleged scam. That is the Hajj package.
Yeah,
you know.
people are very bitter and very aggrieved, so you would expect that, you know, and these con artists sometimes, yes, this gentleman is not convicted yet, is going to, but the fact that he is the recipient of all these allegations in terms of huge, substantial amounts of money, it goes to show that how people, you know, feel about him. So when he's being transported, that anger and fury is naturally there.
68 million.
So people have to be careful before you give money or to anybody. There are certain accredited institutions that do these things. So if it is too good to be true, don't take it. If it is too cheap, you know, the Englishmen, they say buy cheap, buy twice. So it can cost you. If something is too cheap and you go for it, then it may cost you. So be careful.
Yeah, because when you look at these Hajj packages, I think they have these tour guides that are registered with the Hajj Commission, you know, and the GIA. So they are accredited. Accredited, yes. So I'm not sure. I don't have a clue whether this guy is among the Hajj tour, I don't know, or Hajj tour operators, you know, in the Gambia. We haven't seen anything clear on that. But, you know, but people, like you said, people have to be very careful with these things, you know. Just I can just walk in and say, you know, I can take you to Mecca. Mr. Ka is charging 500,000. You with me, you can just pay 300,000. Sometimes when you look at, too good to be true. When you look at the logic, you're like, no.
And that applies to anything, especially in this day and age. You have to be careful before you part with your money. Look at the institution. Is it accredited? How credible? Track history of it and all that before you deposit your money. Otherwise, you end up.
I think awareness raising needs to be done. I don't know by which institutions, but I'm just thinking of people who do not have access to those type of information, or are not literate enough to have access to those type of information, because there are people like that who do want to do Hajj, but they don't have access to materials as such. So maybe some awareness raising can help with that as well.
But you have the radios all over, and televisions, the media is all over now, and they use all local languages to explain to people, I think. But some of these con artists are so good at what they're doing. They design all these projects in a way that you will easily fall for it. And a lot of people have fallen for this type of schemes over the years. So just be extra vigilant, especially when it involves, you know, taking out money and huge amounts. People that want to take you Europe, abroad, or otherwise, they will bring collaborators and tell you, Ma'am Nabu knows, he's done it, we have helped few people, and then you fall for it. Before you realize it, this thing just hits you, and then you're done.
Ma'am Nabu, do we have anything on the point? We've done enough on standards now. Let's see.
Yeah, so on the point, we have Dr. Cisse urges Gambians reject populism, keep Barrow for stability.
Well, that's a partisan political, so
yeah,
they can come.
You know, politicians.
It's that time of the, you know, when there is campaign.
Yeah, people can just come and say stuff. Yeah, so okay, Mr. Ka, I don't know. You watch football?
Yeah, but I missed last night. I was, supporting France. My team is England,
okay.
But last night's game, I was supporting
France. You were supporting France. Mamno, how about you? Do you watch football? Let's do some World Cup.
Fell asleep
for the last 2 minutes. Director said we have 2 minutes to wrap up.
Yes, I did watch last night's game, and I was.
Were you disappointed or you were celebrating?
I was a little disappointed because I was rooting for France.
Oh, I see.
But they ended up losing, which I didn't understand because they're a very good team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spain is of course a very good team as well, but I was expecting at least they will get a goal in.
Yeah. Well, I think the penalty deflated them, and I think it was too harsh a call.
I will tell this to. Let me say this here, the viewers, please. We are not very football minded, so don't blame us if we say certain things and you're like, oh, where is this person coming from? But like I was having a conversation with Gadiaga this morning. Like Mamnabu said, they have a very strong team. France, like a lot of people thought they were actually going to, take this World Cup or get to the final at least. Seeing them leave the World Cup at this stage is not something that a lot of us expected, But Gadiaga told me so. He said, in football, there's what you call tactics. And yesterday, Spain came prepared. They know the tactics that France use from the beginning of the tournament. I'm sure they've been seeing the way they play and all that. Yesterday they came with their own tactics to stop their tactics.
But if you look at
they were dysfunctional.
No, if you look at the Spain's record against France over the last 3 or 4 matches, I think Spain won all of them.
Yeah, Spain won 18. And I think they played, I can't remember how many, but when I was watching yesterday, the commentary, I heard it. They said among the games that they played, Spain won 18. So yesterday made it 19. And France only won 13 and they drew 7. Yeah, so on record, it's like Spain.
And the last 3 matches, Spain won.
Yeah, the last 3. They knocked them even out.
What deflated them for me was the penalty that was given at the early stage of the game. For me, I think the guy was completely unaware to really,
Okay.
It was not an intentional kind of,
So. Okay, so that's it. We were all supporting France. Unfortunately, France are out. So good luck to Spain. And today is England and Argentina, the defending champions. And also, you can watch these games at QCell Caraba Avenue. There's a big screen there for you to come and enjoy, the game. So, Mr. Ka, thank you very much for joining us. That is all we have for you for the newspaper review.
England, by the way.
Oh, yeah? England, yeah. All right, so next is Pura. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break. This is QTV This Morning, and we are back after that short break from the newspaper review. Now straight to something different. We have Salimatu Saidi Lee, Director of Consumer Affairs, Pura. Jamilatu Saidi Lee from Pura, and we'll be talking about Gambia to switch from 7-digit to 9-digit mobile numbers. Welcome, Jamilatu.
Thank you. And it's a pleasure to be here this morning.
Thank you. So let's start. Tell us, why are we switching from 7 to 9 digits?
Good question. As we can all observe, the population is growing. Demand for technology cannot be, just explained. Operators' businesses are expanding. Fintech is in the rise. Internet of Things. So definitely there's a real need for numbers, and this is very important and very instrumental for the digital space in the country.
So it was stated that the transition, will be a trial period from between September 4th to November 30th. So can you take us through what will be happening during that time, please?
As of September 4th, both the 7-digit and the 9-digit will be working on parallel.
Okay.
So I should be able to call you on your 7-digit number or put a prefix before your number, and both will be working during the transition period until November 30th.
So after November 30th, when you call my QCell number is 3
It's
7. So when you call the 7, what would you say? This is a wrong number.
Yeah, it's not even going to go through. So unless you put the prefix, you cannot dial any number or you cannot receive any calls.
Can you take us through the prefixes for the
prefix, the I'll start with QCell since I'm in your house.
Yes.
So
Right.
QCell will be 83. For any QCell number, you have to have 83 before any QCell
Any
number.
number. Okay.
Africell will be 87. You will have to have 87 before any Africell number.
Okay.
Then Chromium will be 86.
Okay.
We simplified it in a way that we all know that the first digits of these operators, QCell starts with 3, Chromium, Africell 7, Chromium 6, just to simplify to avoid any confusion.
Okay. That's
And
good.
Gamcell will be 89.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question because I thought the 3 private GSM operators will be transitioning, but Gamtel was going to. Did that change along the way?
Yeah, they will come in the second phase. So these 3 GSM companies, their systems are readily available to accommodate this transition.
Okay.
So for people who are maybe in the rural areas that maybe will not be privy to information like this, do you guys have any awareness programs that you would maybe use to help them keep up with what is happening here?
Yeah, currently we are preparing a lot of advertisements in all languages.
Okay.
So we are going to do the 7 major languages that we speak in the country. We assume that most people speak Mandinka and Wolof. But there will be languages in like Sarahule, Manjago, and there will be TikTokers. We are working with social media influencers as well to make, because they all have their own followers as well.
Absolutely.
So all languages will be used to make sure the communication, the information is really disseminated to the consumers, irrespective of where you are in the country.
Okay.
So other people will, like when you tell some people, okay, we're switching from 7 to 9. I know you mentioned some of the things on, I know, digital media. I also say digital platforms are evolving. We have fintech and all that. So people will say, we still have our 7 digits. Can't we use our 7 digits for whatever we are doing? Because, and also, is this the first time that Gambia is transitioning its digits from a particular number to where it is at 7?
When we look at the history of telecommunication with Gamtel, they started with 5 digits. So when technology evolves, we have mobile telecommunication. So at the time that the telecommunication expanded to mobile, it starts with 7. So if we can see, they also transition from 5 to 7 digits. So now, as I'm saying, in our 7-digit block, we were capped at 10 million numbers. So with the expansion of the technology in the country and anywhere in the world, going to 9-digit is going to give us a cap of 1 billion numbers. So in a lifetime, we will never run out of numbers, I assume.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one would say, you said with the 7 digits we have 10 million.
Yes.
And I would say in the Gambia we only have are we up to 2.5 or we're 2 million? I'm not too sure.
2.8.
2.8. Okay.
Let's say 3.
Okay,
Let's
3
say
million.
3
Let's say
million.
3 million.
Yeah.
And we have 10 million with the 7 digits. Why are we going in for 9 still?
Good question. Going for a 9-digit, for example, we will have complaints like people will say, I travel out of country. When I come back, I lost my number. This will avail you because I can tell you for free, when you go to certain countries like in the US, some people have their numbers for a lifetime because they have enough. So having this number transition to 9-digit is going to give us more numbers because we are using numbers for different reasons. People are using their QCell to make regular calls, and they're using their Africell to make their transaction when it comes to fintech transactions like, you know, Afric Money and others.
Like Q Money or
So
so.
you can see that one individual will have 3 different numbers. So we look at a household of maybe like 10 people. Each person requiring 5 numbers for different reasons. So we cannot catch up. But with the 9-digit transition, whatever numbers we require for whatever reason, of course, some of them might be subjected to arrangements with your provider. Because if you are traveling out of the country, you don't want to lose your number for a year, you may have to have that arrangement with your service provider. And these numbers are going to cost operators to own them. So they are not going to give it to you for free if you want.
That was going to be my next
arrangement.
question. Yes.
Exactly. So it cannot be free. But like, for example, it will be subjected to certain arrangement with your provider that I want to keep this number for this reason, and you know they will tell you maybe whatever their cost attached to it. So you may be willing to pay for that cost.
So, but now with these 9 digits, you said we now, instead of the 10 million, we are now going to 10?
1 billion.
1 billion.
Yes.
Wow.
That's a whole lot.
That's a lot.
So in a lifetime, my lifetime, I don't think we can exhaust that.
Looking at our population.
Exactly.
But also, so now, if you have that 1 billion, for instance, numbers that will be there reserved for consumers of different GSM operators, would there be any need for one to pay to still preserve your number?
Yeah, so like I said, we all know at the initial stage of mobile communication in Gamtel, at Gamcell, people used to pay $500 for a SIM card. Now, how much do you now pay for a SIM card? It's basically free of charge. So, like I said, there used to be no charge when it comes to numbers issued to operators, but that has changed due to the numbering regulations. Operators have to pay for these numbers. They are going to be charged for these numbers. So if they are going to hold a number for you to keep for a whole year, even without you using it, in case you are out of this country, you have to have a special arrangement with them. So I would not say you will pay, but it depends, because like I said, they are using their resources when they have been assigned these numbers. So you should also have an obligation with your sub-provider when they are going to hold this number for you.
So this is obviously a very big change happening for everyone involved. So are there any challenges forecasted, and how do you intend to solve them?
We are here, all operators are using the Huawei system. That is the good thing about it, because they all have the same provider providing them these services, and we have them in the country here. So these are the things they will be working through, and we will be having weekly updates as to what challenges they may come across, because we all have technicians, so as the operators as well. So we will be working closely together. If we don't foresee that much challenge, because their systems, like I said, are well prepared to cope this transition. So whatever the case is, whatever challenge may be there, we have experts that will be able to handle it.
Okay. So, Ma'am Nabou, now, like, this is it's a very interesting and important topic.
Yeah.
And I would like our grandmothers who are watching right now, maybe they're just looking at the images or have an idea of what we are saying, but not exactly. So the moment Ma'am Nabou, you know, man nak suma olof is setut way yo nga dimbale ñu rek ñu duga tuuti rek ci olof.
Pour suñ mbokki olof yi rek nga jëm leen a dimbale si nu ñoo toxoo si naka juróom-ñaari nomba yi juróom-ñeenti nomba pour nga wax leen rek yoon bi naka la fa demee ak suñ naka la process bi naka la daal.
Waaw dinaa ci am kontaan trop pour sànni kaddu ci wolof. Lu am solo la pour dëkk bi te ñun ñëpp war nañoo kontaan, especially consumers yi. Buñ bàyyee xel léegi dafa am ñi di am seen nomba ñu tukki ñu ñëw ñu ne ñàkk naa suma nomba. Dañ di am complaint yooyu noonu leen. Gis nañ tam ne operators yi seen business baa ngee dox te ni moo expandé luñ bugga ñu nekk fépp fu nekk si biir dëkk bi loolu noonu dafa àndaal loo xam ne war nga am enough numbers o tomba yooyu noonu la yoo xam ne moo laa mën a dimbale pour sa expansion bi mu gën a mën a dox. Because boo gisee nga invest in a business sa mooy rek pour nga mën a am dara in return, and the more they are expanding they will require numbers pour njokkoon nit ñi. 7 digit bi boo gisee ñuy jógee from 7 digit di dem 9 digit koom-koom dafa dox buñ bàyyee xel ne money transfer services yaa ngi fi excuse me dama soj am nga nit ñu am ne ñu ngi am seen mobile dañ ko use pour jokkoo wante seen mbokk yi waaye soxla nañ yeneen number yoo am ne ñu ngi ko use pour def seen wave transfer or Q money or Afrique money. buñ bàyyee xel dina am jamono boo xam ne sax moo meters yi ñoo use with NAWEC dafa require SIM cards. So loolu noonu yëpp boo ko seetloo number yi ñu am si 7 digits si tomba 7 bi yokkute dafa am duñ ko mën a duñ mën a am luñ soxla. So ñu gis ne doxalin boobu noonu lu tax ñu seet lii dox si yeneen gox yi nii comme suñ dëkkandoor yi like Sénégal boo bàyyee xel seen number yi 9 digits la. Ghana, Sierra Leone, nakalaati Nigeria. So ñooñu tam ni ñoo mën a doxalee Gambia mën nañoo joxe doxalin boobu xam ne dinañ mën a am saafara suñ soxla yi when it comes to technology. Because fu mu nekk ni technology dafa dox. te mënuñoo des si gannaaw. loolu moo waral weccite bii nii te dafa nekk loo xam ne lu yomba la. sa nomba dara du change. te kenn du la fay pour nga change nomba bii nii. sa nomba bi nga amee man soo may call suma nomba bi 2222 la. Africell number soo may call by September 4th war ngaa mën a jiital 87 nga def number boobu noonu leen bu doon da nga am koo xam ne Qcell contact la si sa téléphone léegi boo koy call da ngaa jiital 83 nga def number bi Qcell boobu noonu leen bu doon comme yom customer la contact la moo nekk si sa téléphone bi da ngaa def 86 nga mun a jiital number boobu noonu leen amuloo dara luy wecci si customer bi si number am bi o contact person bi nomba bu ñaari nomba yi njëkk yi rek moom ngaa wécci te dinañ make sure ne dinañ def waxtaan yi nii ci anam yu bari laaka boo xalaat dinañ ko def ñu ngi waxtaana tiktokers si ñu ngi waxa social naka la media houses si dinañ dem am waxtaan si radio station si télévision yi ak social media bi suñ maam yi sax léegi dañoo enjoy tiktok so dinañ make sure lu bari information bul ni mu war a leeral pour ngeen mën a gën a understand transition bi nii yëpp dina nekk in those platforms.
Okay, so benn laaj mu fa comme for instance. nga da nga am A3 mooy pour Qcell.
waaw
so let's say nit ki dina wax ne lu tax duñ mën a am let's say A3 boobu mooy standard. then after nga def sa beneen number no matter ban GSM operator la. Understandable. Let's say for instance. Man suma number be 39555 or something like that. So instead of my let's say Qcell I use, ma binda 83, then ma def 39555. So mam na bu let's say we use benen operator. So the same 83 la moy binda mu binda number am. Pour mu simplify.
Waaw boo gisee ñu yombalal ko ñëpp xam nañ ne Qcell seen number bu njëkk bi 3 la.
Waaw.
Africell seen number bu njëkk bi 7 la. Balaa ñoo am yeneen number si comme yom tam 6 la. So pour bañ a réeral li fi nii pour ñu war a am loo xam ne def leen naa indil jafe-jafe moo tax ñu yombalal leen ko. boo defee A3 nga am ne yow bu doon Qcell client nga. sa nomba A3 nga jiital. ku nekk si sa téléphone bi te Qcell client la tam. nomba am bi balaa nga koo daayal. da ngaa dem rek lu yomba. ñu defal la A3
so dafa mel ni 8 bi rek moo ñëpp lu niroo so second number bi mooy GSM yi ba léegi number seen
number yi njëkk yi
waaw lu waxtaan bi am na solo mun nañ dem fi more than 2 hours duñ ko jékkali definitely because lu am solo transition bi waaye thank you so much for coming
ba tey tam buñ doon am nañ time suñ bokki déglukat yi laaka soo
time bi moo jeex waaye am so pira dinañ ñëw we'll open platforms for you dina ñëw engage suñ marketing team bi rek xam nga ñu bokk si
engage nañ leen ba pare sax bu nekkee yàlla
that's very good no problem so thank you very much Jamilatu Saidi Lee for coming Director Consumer Affairs Pura viewers this is all we have for you for this segment or stay tuned next we have the State of Human Rights Report 2025 and we'll be joined by Emmanuel Daniel Diouf, Chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is QTV this morning, and like I said, now we are joined by Mr. Emmanuel Daniel Diouf, Chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission, and we'll be looking at State of Human Rights Report 2025. Mr. Diouf, welcome to QTV this morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Happy to be here with you.
Thank you. Good to have you. Okay, so let's start. We're looking at the Human Rights Report 2025. First, tell us how these reports were compiled.
Yes, okay. The National Human Rights Commission was set up by an act of the National Assembly in 2017. and it also became operational in 2019 with 5 commissioners and a secretariat staff. The Establishment Act of the National Human Rights Commission requires that every year the National Human Rights Commission will submit a report to the National Assembly on the state of human rights of the country. In other words, the institution is tasked with doing a thorough mapping of the human rights climate, if I may use that word, of the country. But of course, in doing so, the National Human Rights Commission, using its mandate to promote and protect human rights, will investigate human rights matters in the country. It will receive complaints from individuals or communities or groups. The Human Rights Commission will do research, studies on what is happening in the country. So, and of course, in preparing this report, we look at all the areas involving human rights, civil and political rights, and that is broad. For example, the right to education, the right to health, the right to public assembly, freedom of expression, right to education, environmental rights, the climate. So all the gamuts of human rights. And this is how we derive our reports. And in each of those areas, the rights of older persons, the rights of people with disabilities, the rights of children, the rights of women. So we do a thorough mapping of all these rights and compile them in a report. But also the work that we have done in terms of receiving complaints and our investigation. We come up with the fact-finding, but also the recommendations that we have made and the outcome of those recommendations. You will find out that yesterday when we launched in the press conference, we also launched the reports, the State of Human Rights 2025, the activity report of the NHRC, that are the activities we carried out in that particular year. It also shows how we spend the money that we receive from the government and from donors. But also we launched another report called the prisons reports, prisons and police stations reports. So it's a comprehensive report on our findings after our legal officers, our investigators visited detention facilities throughout the length and breadth of the country, and also the prisons that we have, Mile 2 Central Prison, Joshua and Janjambure. So it's all compiled here. You know, looking at all the what happens in the prisons, from the infrastructure, how inmates are kept, the sanitary conditions of the cells. So these are all things that we come up with, and then we issue a recommendation. But another area that the National Human Rights Commission, it's mandated to also look at and review and prepare a report is the TRRC. If you can remember, when the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, when the work was finished, they came up with a recommendation, and the government came up with what is known as the white paper. And in that white paper, the government accepted 263 recommendations, and the government later came up with an implementation plan. So the National Human Rights Commission also monitors the implementation to find out whether actually the government is actually implementing what it has said in the white paper that it was going to implement. So again, our report, you'll find now the report that we also launched, the 263 recommendation. Where are we? How many of those recommendations have been implemented? How many of them are ongoing? How many of those activities are also implemented? So this is the method that we use. So we have our different directorates, especially the Directorate of Legal and Investigation, that does the bulk of the work as far as the State of Human Rights report is concerned. So this is, in a nutshell, in a summary, this is how we do our, this is how our report, the methodology. And of course, in the process, we we are in communities, as you know. We also engage civil society. We engage the government. So we are actually, what you find in our reports is actually evidence-based. We just don't sit in our offices and generate reports.
Yeah.
These reports are generated based on evidence, empirical evidence on the ground. Yes.
Okay. You mentioned that the TRRC implementation of the white paper, there have been progress, but uneven,
Yes.
slowly.
Yes.
So what are some of the factors that you think are slowing down the implementation of some of these recommendations?
Yes. Some recommendations, okay, the Truth Commission recommendation are in different themes.
Yeah.
And you have, in the area, for example, of accountability, which talks about the prosecution of the 69 of those that have been found responsible for gross human rights violation. It is a process. You have to set up, for example, you must have a prosecutor. As if you realize, the prosecutor has just now been been employed. So you need the prosecution service, you need investigation into those crimes, you need to set up a hybrid court, and probably go through other processes of getting evidence, extradition probably, because some of those that are named are not even in the country. So those things requires time. And of course, not only time, but also resources. You must have resources. So it's understandable that some of those will take time, but there have been progress. For example, the Reparation Commission. If you remember, one of the recommendations was to have a Reparation Commission. The government also, it was a process. The bill was there and an act was passed. Today, as I speak to you, we have a Reparation Commission. But again, the process of reparation, they are also again going through the whole process, opening it up, interviewing those who said they could not go to the TRRC, but they also need to be resourced. So these are processes, and of course people will always be saying that the process is slow. Yes, the government must push, must accelerate, but I believe that the political will is there, but more needs to be done in those areas. So sometimes these are some of the areas, these are some of the problems that that go with this implementation.
So in the report, I did see that you guys released information about how 11 complaints were launched about inhumane treatment and torture against involving security institutions, and I just wanted to understand what is the gap between documenting that and prosecution, because we haven't seen any prosecuted cases.
Yes. Okay. Maybe I should be very clear that the NHRC is not a prosecuting authority.
Yes, I understand.
We are not. So when complaints come, we have a procedure and a process. When there is a complaint, we get the information to see whether it falls within whether it's a rights violation, human rights violation. And of course, then we will contact the relevant authorities. In most cases, in this case, it could be the security personnel. And there's a process where we tell them that these are the complaints that are made against you, and we give them a particular period in which to respond. So this is the process. Sometimes in the process, you will find out in one of the reports, it was said that the complainant even actually dropped and said that, well, listen, we have actually resolved the issue at that level. So it is a process, and when we feel that nothing is done, we recommend for prosecution, the Ministry of Justice or the police itself. But also the National Human Rights Commission can sit as a quasi-judicial body to hear complaints. We have done that before, where we sit as like a tribunal, as a court, to do that. But the complaints process involves the complaint being made, an investigation being done, and the authorities actually, or the person who's the complaint, or the institution who the complaint is filed against, is actually requested to answer to certain things. So it's a whole process.
So what are some of the biggest human rights challenges that the Gambia is faced with today? And as the NHRC, what are you doing to address some of those issues?
I have said, especially what I said yesterday in our press conference, that we have made some progress. Really, if you are measuring human rights violation before and now we have made some progress. In terms of, I've even mentioned, in terms of even establishment of the NHRC. Yeah. The fact that you have an institution that is holding the executive to as an oversight institution. But what we do have concerns in especially security. We, unlike most governments, we've seen a rise in crime, and especially rise in violent crimes. Homicide is on the increase. So these are, because this impact on the right to life. So we are concerned, and this is an area that we are engaging. The Ministry of Interior, the police, the judiciary, something must and needs to be done. But we are also concerned that is just one area. We are also concerned on issues relating to the handling of public demonstrations by the police.
Right.
The heavy-handedness, proportionality in which we've observed some security officers, the way they react to demonstrators. I think it's out there, we all know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is an area, because the right to public procession, freedom of expression, these are fundamental rights, and they must be guarded. Yes, it is true, for example, that our law still says that a permit must be obtained. Although the Commission has actually said that perhaps we should do away with it and have notification. But the law requires permit. But we have also seen, if you have observed the way we have been working closely with the police, that the police have actually increased the number of permits that they have given even in Gala. You will see the meetings we've had with the top members of the police force. But this is an area that we really need improvement, public, and especially coming to election year. People have a right to voice out their dissent, their concern. So this is one of the areas that we really, as a country, and the Human Rights Commission, being the oversight institution, mandated to promote and protect human rights. This is an area that we have been flagging, and it needs improvement. But also, that is not the only area. For example, the area of women's rights. We have increase in sexual and gender-based violence. And that is why we currently now we have a training on gender responsive and rights-based policing, so that police officers are trained, their capacity is built, so that they know how to handle sexual and gender-based violence, so that the women, children, vulnerable groups will feel, yes, they will feel that they are protected. And not when you go to the police, they will ask you, what were you doing at 9 a.m. or why did you wear a short skirt? You know, and also having safe places where you can actually interview them. And so these are areas, and still as a country, FGM is banned. But we know for a fact that still it's happening. So these are of great concerns to us. We also are concerned about the protection of children. Again, if you've been, we've done our investigations. Children, being a vulnerable group, are really not protected. We have had incidents where children, especially in some Quranic schools and madrasas, the conditions in which they are kept is horrible. Absolutely. Outbreak of scabies, even sexual abuse of those children. But of course, even the area of right to education. Our constitution is very clear about right to education. It says basic education shall be free and compulsory. But you walk down the streets, all the towns, from Farafenye to Karawan, children who should be in school are begging and out in the streets. Something needs to be done. You cannot say that the law is that is compulsory. If it is compulsory, how are we enforcing it? So we are not enforcing it, and we're concerned. Children are vulnerable groups. The rights of people with disabilities. For example, you asked me what our concerns are. Again, we have a great act called the 2021 Persons with Disability Act. It's very comprehensive. But again, we as an institution are pushing for the acceleration of the implementation of the act, so that people with disabilities feel that they belong, they are part of our society. It's not something that they are begging for, it's a right. For example, you have the provisions that public institutions, even here, should have a lift, so that when they come, public toilets should be disability friendly. public places, public vehicles. So these are laws that are in our books, but we need to implement them. So again, these are issues that we're taking up with the executive, with the National Assembly, to make sure that implementation of these acts come into, there and they're impactful. So these are some of the many concerns. We are also concerned about the right of older persons. Again, the Gambia has ratified treaties relating to older persons, but we do not have a national law or a concrete national policy on the rights of older persons. And it's important. In other countries, their right to health is subsidized. Even in Senegal, if you go across, all you need to people after the age of 60, they have access to health facilities. These are things that they need. Transportation, health facilities. Remember, these are people who have contributed to the advancement of this country.
Definitely.
So we cannot just sit down and neglect them. So this is another area that the National Human Rights Commission is working in. But there are also emerging areas like climate change. Which affects everybody. Absolutely. Issues of flooding in coastal areas. Issues of another area, things like sand mining. It's affecting communities. If you remember the Faraba Bantang, which cause. But these are issues that the government needs to be serious about. There has been improvement, but we need to do more. As I've always said, human rights is work in progress, and as an institution, as an oversight institution, it is our job to make sure that we come out with reports that are evidence-based. We do not speculate. If you have time and you delve into these reports deeply, you can find, we're not just talking, we will tell you when, where, how, what we found, what needs to be done. But we've been tasked as an institution to bring back a culture where people live in peace and harmony, but also to improve. Human rights is broad. It's everybody's business. Human rights, as I said, is not civil, political, economic, social, cultural rights. Everybody should be interested in human rights. It's not, you see, in the old days, I think the way in which the narrative was made, it was as if human rights was something that came from the West, or it's to do with the rights of LGBTQ. No. We're talking about the right to education. We do not need anybody from America or EU to tell us that we must have the right to education. Do we need them to tell us that we need the right to health? Or, or the right to vote, the right to air our opinions? These are fundamental rights, and all of us should be guardian of these rights. But of course, with responsibilities. The other problem is, and people even accuse NHRC sometimes, they said, the problem of this country is that there are too many rights. No. Rights comes with responsibilities. You have duty bearers who are mainly the executives, because they are given all the rights. They collect the taxes. It is under them that the police are, and all the apparatus, state apparatus. But at the same time, we the ordinary citizens who are the right claimers, we have rights, but that doesn't mean that I should actually oppress you, because and you'll find out that human rights violation is both horizontal and vertical. Sometimes those who actually abuse human rights are not even from the security. They ourselves. You look at the caste system as you have. You look at FGM. It's grandmothers, mothers doing it to their daughters. I'm just saying that sometimes we just believe that human rights is to do with police powers and us, but it's right across. The way we treat each other, these are all human rights matters.
Very important. So I want us to look at the prisons. So in your report, how are the prison conditions? Have you seen any improvement in terms of the prison conditions?
The prisons, again, let me go back from 2017. Because when we were established in 2019, one of the first places, we are actually mandated by law. All National Human Rights Commission throughout the world are mandated by law to monitor detention facilities, which are police cells and prisons. Because the reason is, this is a place where you keep people who are there are vulnerable. They may have been accused of crime, but they no longer have the right. They can't do anything. So the way they are kept, there is what we call the minimum standards. There has to be minimum standards in which you detained prisoners. And just last week, we had a training in the Greater Banjul and also in Janjanbureh, training prison wardens on the minimum, what is called the Mandela rules. These are, as you know, it's a checklist of how you keep prisoners. So, moving on, the prisons were very bad. There has been gradual improvement. Really, if you have been there in 2019 and 9, unless you have not been there, you will still be shocked. But if you had gone there earlier, and also even those cells at Mile 2, which we told them that this is not fit for human habitation, they are no longer using them. So there has been improvement in the food. There was a period people were dying. They said that the food that they were giving them, you know.
I think we had that even during the TRRC.
Exactly. Also the health services. So we have seen improvements. Improvements. If you look at Joshua, for example, you go there, they have improved with the assistance of development partners as well, the way prisoners are kept. But to get to your point, yes, there are problems. There are problems of overcrowding.
Yeah, I was going to go there. The issue of overcrowding.
There is, and remember, we have a prison that was built during colonial period, and they've never expanded. The space is not even there. So if you said that this was supposed to be for 20 remand prisoners, now you're holding 100. This is, you know, the sanitary conditions are terrible, and we have been flagging this in our reports. But also even juvenile detention facilities. You cannot mix juvenile offenders with, although now they have the juvenile wing at Joshua. So the way women are, the way the women are incarcerated, you know, the sanitary conditions of those places, the toilet facilities, they are bad. But also even the way the prison wardens, the place, their facilities are also terrible. Vocational training, but there has been improvement. Area of vocational training, you have other, I think MRC Holland, they've been building in Janjanbureh and other places. But we have raised this issue on numerous occasions. The good news is that the government has now resolved to build a new prison. I'm sure you probably heard
we have
after Bir Kama. So that prison, hopefully, the design is a modern prison, where it will be properly demarcated into, you know, where you have serious offenders that are kept, where you have, you know, then you have a juvenile wing, you have women's wing, vocational training. This is what we expect. But in the meantime, until that is done, we're still pushing for the improvement of the conditions. But overcrowding in the prisons is not just a prison problem. It's an access to justice problem, because it involves the police. It involves the judiciary, because you know the way in which the case, so justice is a chain link. So if, for example, remand prisoners, their cases are slow and they are not progressing, and you are filling in the prisons again with remand prisoners, then you will have overcrowding. So we have to actually tackle it on at a holistic level. But also, even looking at especially our current criminal procedure code, do we have to put in prison everybody? Perhaps we should look at other forms of punishment, or like probation in other countries. You know, you get
probation. I see that.
You get somebody with 1 box of jamba. Maybe you can rehabilitate and train the 17-year-old or 18-year-old rather than putting him there and he will learn new tricks or bad tricks. So these are things that we have to look at our criminal justice system at a holistic way in order to improve prison conditions.
Mr. Emmanuel, I think you'll have to come back here again. This is all the time we have for this edition of This Morning, but very interesting. And we've been going through the report, a lot of things captured there. And just a quick one, how would like someone who wants to access the report, how would you?
We're giving free copies, and also we upload it.
It's on your site, on your website.
It's on our website, and the law says that we should disseminate as widely as possible.
That's good.
So yesterday, for those who came, all the journalists had copies of this. And we can make extra copies. But you can also just go to our website. All these reports are there.
No problem. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you, Ma'am Navo. This is the time we have, all the time we have for today's edition of This Morning. Until we come your way tomorrow, but stay tuned to QTV and enjoy the rest of our programs. Thank you.